It's fitting that today is the inaugural address as it fits within a larger campus-wide celebration, Spirit Week. Throughout the week, we've been sharing the message that our UND experiences are a direct result of generosity from our alumni and friends. Spirit Week helps remind all of our campus community that we need to pay that generosity forward by making the most of their academic and student life experiences. After all, the greatest act of stewardship is to use the donor's gift to make an impact here at UND. In our case, the gift of education is perpetuating the future leaders of our state, our region, and the world. To formally welcome you to the address this afternoon, I give you a gentleman who has the opportunity to work with and shape the lives of those future leaders every day. Please help me welcome UND's Vice President and Provost, Mr. Paul LaBelle.
Thank you, Deanna. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you as well this afternoon to the first of its kind for this type of event, which is a report to the university community, to our alumni and friends and supporters on the state of the UND Foundation and Alumni Association. There is a very close, even symbiotic relationship between the university and the foundation. At some universities, the Alumni Association and the foundation are divisions of the university itself. It's probably more common for the foundation to be a separate entity, as is the case here. But that legal distinction between the foundation and the university ought not to matter to how we actually operate. The relationship is a partnership. That's certainly the optimum situation, and it's very much an accurate description of the situation here at UND. The Foundation and Alumni Association perform absolutely essential functions for the university. One is maintaining the connection between the university and our alumni. That involves providing a lot of information about the exciting activities that are occurring on campus, and it involves sharing information about the accomplishments of our alumni. Maintaining that connection also involves hosting events, from major undertakings such as homecoming that bring people back to campus, to events such as receptions and sporting event viewings, get-togethers that project the university out to where our alumni are. The second critical role that the foundation plays is serving as the philanthropic arm of the university. North Dakota is fortunate in being one of the fewer than handful of states that are able to continue to fund higher education at increasing levels. That being said, state funding cannot be expected to support the ambitious goals of the university in making unparalleled opportunities available to our students and in providing significant benefits to our citizens. The reality is that public funding of higher education in this country today would be capable only of producing or perpetuating mediocrity. The margin for excellence is provided in large part through the generosity of donors. The principal fundraising for the university is performed by the foundation. In October of 2010, we celebrated the public launch of a $300 million capital campaign that was university-wide. In October 2013, we will celebrate what I am confident will be a striking success in that campaign. We wouldn't be able to have the breadth and depth of programs, the world-class faculty, the assistance to students and their families in meeting the financial burdens of higher education, or the cutting-edge facilities for teaching, research, and recreation, without the work of the foundation in helping us tell the story of what the university is doing. And that story is critical to convincing people that directing their philanthropy to us to the people, to the programs, and to the facilities of the university, that is an investment that will transform the experience of our students and our faculty and our staff for generations to come. The relationship between the university and the foundation has never been stronger, and a lot of credit for that relationship goes to the leadership of the foundation and Alumni Association for working collaboratively to identify the highest priorities, to develop strategies for attracting resources to help meet those priorities, and to demonstrate to current and prospective donors that their gifts are having an impact that they could point to with pride and satisfaction. It's my pleasure this afternoon to present to us the first State of the Alumni Association and Foundation reports, to introduce the CEO and Executive Vice President of the Foundation and Alumni Association, Mr. Tim O'Keefe.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for not taking my speech too, right? Thank you, Paul, and good afternoon. I want to thank you for attending our first ever UND Alumni Association and Foundation event of this type, and a special welcome to those that are watching by webcast. I'd also like to especially thank, as I see the chair of our UND Foundation is here, Rick Burgum, who was also one of the early investors in the North Dakota Spirit campaign. So Rick, thanks for being here. I'm very excited to update you with the state of the alumni relations, development, and finance areas of the Alumni Association and Foundation, and give you a sense of how I see the future related to the Alumni Association and Foundation. Transparency is very important, and that's why we want to come before you today to lay out exactly how the Alumni Association and Foundation are working to connect with the 95,000 living alumni of the University of North Dakota, engage them in what is happening on campus, and ask that they use their time, talent, and treasure to help current students, administration, and faculty reach their greatest potential. While our goal is to be open and transparent, recently we did have one very poorly kept secret. In 2005, we launched the silent phase of a fundraising effort called North Dakota Spirit, the campaign for UND. It was, and as the provost portrayed, is a critical collaborative effort between UND partners and the UND Foundation to raise $300 million to benefit every corner of campus, with financial goals for students, faculty, programs, and buildings. During Homecoming 2010, we went public with the campaign when we announced that we were 2/3 of the way to our goal, over $200 million committed in a little over 4 years of some of the toughest economic times that our country had seen in our history. At the time, President Kelly summed up the reason we call it the Spirit Campaign by saying, "As the state's flagship university, we carry the spirit of North Dakota in all that we do." Defined in my terms, North Dakota Spirit is all about self-reliance, humility, determination, perseverance, and a willingness to help others. Today, we'd like to recognize 2 students who embody those qualities, the recipients of the first ever Student Spirit Awards. Each of these students will receive a $500 scholarship and another $500 to give to a UND program that matches their philanthropic goals. Our first recipient is Chelsea Bickle, a junior in communications and sociology. Now, Chelsea is from Kindred, North Dakota. I see Phyllis Johnson here. Phyllis, you and your other Norwegians in the audience perhaps might recognize that as Kindred, North Dakota, where all the citizens are known first and foremost to be kind. Chelsea is president of Alpha Chi Omega sorority, a student ambassador. She's involved in student public relations group and volunteers at the Grand Forks Community Violence Intervention Center. She plans to give her $500 allotment to Alpha Chi Omega for a scholarship that will go to a sorority sister of hers who is committed to the continued partnership between the sorority and CVIC. Chelsea, congratulations to you, and thank you for being such a fine example of North Dakota spirit. Chelsea, would you please stand? And Chelsea, I'm sure that Rick would testify as to the kindness that all in Kindred have, right? Our second recipient of the Student Spirit Award is Adam Swegost, a pre-med student with a minor in chemistry. Adam is a Bismarck native who, as a child, was a volunteer with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the St. Alexis Medical Center. On campus, Adam is involved with student government, several student organizations, including the Emerging Leaders Group, and yet he finds the time to work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation on a continuing basis, as well as the Lions Club. He plans to give his $500 to the Emerging Leaders Group to fund their end-of-the-year philanthropic project that impacts a number of both UND and community organizations. Adams, congratulations to you as well for being a Student Spirit Award recipient, and would you please stand and be recognized. Chelsea and Adam, we appreciate your dedication to your studies, philanthropy, and your campus. And these students certainly represent the best of North Dakota Spirit, and they're prime examples of what the Spirit Campaign is all about. It is especially fitting that we hold this foundation update, and the first one at that, right here in the Chester Fritz Library. The origin of large-scale philanthropy on our campus began right here, through the library's namesake, Chester Fritz. Just over 50 years ago, the one-time student of UND donated $1 million to build this library. And consider at that time, at barely 50 years old, that was half of his net worth. When the library was dedicated in 1961, he issued what has become to be known as the Fritz Challenge. He encouraged alumni and friends of the university to support the library through private donations. It's a challenge that succeeding generations of alumni have accepted, and it's on their generosity that we continue as a strong UND through the North Dakota Spirit Campaign. When we took the campaign public in October of 2010, we announced that we already had $200 million of the $300 million goal realized. I'm pleased to tell you that today we're at $245.5 million with about 21 months to go in the campaign. Believe me when I say that 2011 was an incredible year for the campaign, and we have high hopes that 2012 will be even better. One of the ways that we ensure success in our campaign fundraising efforts is by telling potential investors about campus success stories. One of those success stories is the Student Managed Investment Fund in the College of Business and Public Administration. The group started in 2005 with an initial $100,000 gift from Jim and Nancy Seifert. It is exactly as it sounds. It's an investment fund in which all of the decisions about what securities to buy or sell are made daily by students, advised by a faculty member who holds an endowed chair as a result of the campaign. Since that initial gift, more donors have stepped forward, providing over $900,000 for the student to manage. And the best news is, with their success, that fund holds over $1 million today. In addition, generous donor A. Kirk Lannerman donated funds for a state-of-the-art trading room. Not only does working with real money provide Wall Street-level experience for these students, but they've also proven to be very astute investors, growing their portfolio in both good and bad economics times. In 2010, the UND Group won first place out of over 300 universities in the undergraduate division at the RiseX Forum. We have several officers from the Student Managed Investment Fund in the audience today. Would you please also stand and be recognized? Now, as I view several members of the audience in an age group very similar to mine, I should tell you that these fellows will be sticking around for some of the refreshments after the address. So Josh and David and others, you may want to hit them up for a little investment advice here as we look forward to the future. We also have some presidential scholarship recipients in the audience today. It's through the generosity of our donors that we're able to offer these scholarships to our highest achieving students. I'd ask them also to stand and be recognized. Any presidential scholars? No surprise. We're also very excited about the new, since campaign inception, North Dakota Spirit Faculty Achievement Awards, funded annually by donors through the UND Foundation, recognizing outstanding educators on our campus. The $100,000 annual allocation for these awards is in addition to other critical faculty programs funded through the UND Foundation, such as the Alice T. Clark Mentoring Program, the new Faculty Bus Tour, and others. We have at least one Faculty Achievement Award recipient with us today. I believe Kathleen Dixon is here. Would you also please stand and be recognized for all you do in the classroom and beyond? Each of these success stories can be traced back to a great student experience learned through engaged faculty, a concerned administration that contributed to an outstanding campus experience, both of which eventually led to a caring donor who decides to make an investment in the educational and economic future of the University of North Dakota. Perhaps the best news in that regard is that the annual group of investors continues to grow as we push forward towards the $300 million goal. As you can see on this chart, we have seen an increase in our donor count each year since we started the campaign. In the last fiscal year, 13,770 made donations to the University of North Dakota through the UND Foundation. This compares to a 10-year average preceding the campaign of 8,500 donors a year. The next slide is perhaps the most exciting. Pledges, as you can see, a very limited asset at the campaign beginning, have risen dramatically during the North Dakota Spirit campaign. At fiscal year end, June 30th, 2011, the UND Foundation holds nearly $35 million in pledges for various purposes in the near future. The impact of North Dakota Spirit is already being felt all across our campus. Through the North Dakota Spirit campaign, 485 new funds have been established for the benefit of the University of North Dakota. Of those, 245 are for student scholarships, touching on a primary tenet of the campaign, which is to support UND's outstanding and passionate students. Another goal of the North Dakota Spirit campaign is to raise $50 million for extraordinary places on campus. As Paul mentioned, we believe that to remain among the top public research universities in the country, UND must continue to provide extraordinary places and infrastructure for students and faculty to study, live, recreate, and conduct research. The first visual example of that commitment to extraordinary places in the campaign is the construction of the now underway Gretzky Alumni Center along University Avenue, immediately adjacent to the Chester Fritz Auditorium. That location is critical to our goal of having the Gretzky Alumni Center be a welcoming place for alumni, current and future students, their families, and the Grand Forks community. To that end, UND's admissions office will be located in this building. So this will be the first place prospective students will stop on campus with their parents before getting a tour. We're very excited to think about the great impression that these new students will get of UND from the 5-star space they'll walk into on the first floor of the building. This is perhaps the best example of the dynamics that collaboration brings. Using the strength of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation, in close partnership, in this case with admissions, in a welcoming, first-class environment. The Gretzky Alumni Center, as a consequence, will be the true alpha and omega for students of the future. The Gretzky Alumni Center will also give the staff of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation a chance to share office space in a welcoming environment for alumni and friends for the first time in their long history. One of the other truly thrilling things about this building is that it's being built to the very highest of green standards. The building will strive to achieve a LEED Platinum designation, the highest level of energy efficiency as recognized by the U.S. Green Building Council. This is a remarkable goal. It'll be the first project in the state of North Dakota to attempt to meet the rigorous platinum standards of energy efficiency, sustainability, and use of green construction materials and technology. It's also first the alumni center in the country to seek the LEED Platinum certification. And most importantly, it's a great reflection of our university. While pursuing LEED Platinum shows UND's commitment to environmental stewardship and social responsibility, the effort will pay dividends in other areas as well. Studies have shown that the typical energy savings for a platinum LEED building is 50 to 60% over a traditionally constructed building, with a payback in the investment around 10 years. A LEED certified building should also use 20 to 40% less water as well. And finally, we're pleased that the Gretzky Alumni Center will foremost serve our campus partners in ways never realized or in many cases even dreamt of before. In addition, it'll also serve as a link between campus and the Grand Forks community. The community room will not only be a great place for student organizations and campus groups to host events, but we expect a fair number of wedding receptions and other social events to take advantage of the space as well. When it's finished, the Gretzky Alumni Center will be a spot to gather, a place to celebrate student and faculty recognition and honors, a place to honor the accomplishments of our remarkable alumni, a welcoming gateway to our beautiful campus, the platinum standard of energy efficiency, a model of sustainability, and a working classroom for those studying green technology, and to all of us, a place that we can call home. We couldn't be more excited for the grand opening of the Gretzky Alumni Center during homecoming this October. Before I close, I want to take a few moments to provide some highlights of the UND Foundation balance sheet at fiscal year end 6/30/11. Much of what I am covering is held within the handout that you received. In fiscal year 2011, total program support to the university from the foundation was $11.5 million. And those numbers are broken down in your handout. Over 16,000 gifts were received, totaling more than $50.5 million, almost doubling that of the previous fiscal year. That jump, in large part, is because we recorded a high of nearly $26 million in the form of bequests, trusts, gift annuities, life insurance, or other planned gifts, which allow investors to leave their legacy at the University of North Dakota. In the 6 years since we've been in campaign, we've recorded 359 new planned gifts totaling $97.2 million. Also in fiscal year 11, our total investments rose to $170 million, recovering from the 2008 credit crisis, and our total assets went to an all-time high of over $228 million. Our endowment balance was at its highest, $121.5 million, and the rate of return in fiscal 11 was more than 19%, reflecting another year of positive growth despite difficult economic times at the national and global level. We're proud to report that the largest portion of the $121.5 million in the endowment, almost $50 million, is dedicated to student scholarships. Our endowment endeavors were aided by a new law in the North Dakota legislature. By giving at least $5,000 to an endowment, investors can benefit not only from their federal tax deduction, but also an additional credit of 40% of the gift on their North Dakota state income tax. We look forward to seeing how much more this incentive will continue to build the endowment portfolio in the future. So in closing, I'd like to leave you with a couple of messages. The success of this campaign has a direct correlation to the level of cooperation, collaboration, and synergy achieved between the University of North Dakota Alumni Association Foundation and the source of its mission, its partners at the University of North Dakota. And in that regard, there is so much more that we can do, achieving and finding better and new ways to work together. We began North Dakota Spirit with several goals beyond the financial, the most prominent of which was to lift the philanthropic culture, both on our campus and by association, that of our alumni and friends nationally. As we're now down to the last 21 months of the campaign, we're well on our way to accomplishing such. But let's remind ourselves of the truest definition of philanthropy, which is one's contribution of time, talent, as well as treasure. While the latter, treasure, gets the most notice, the first two tenets of that definition, time and talent, are also critical elements of the campaign. And there are tens, if not hundreds, of examples of the growth in that commitment in those areas through the campaign that should be celebrated as well. We must continue to build on all three areas. Finally, I want to recognize my colleagues that I have the pleasure to work with daily, both within our organization that are here as well as those that are on campus. I'm inspired by your commitment to the mission supporting UND and proud to be your teammate. The success of the campaign is a shared outcome with tenets of responsibility across a broad spectrum. The University of North Dakota Alumni Association and Foundation is a mere reflection of the university it represents: strong, progressive, proud, and growing. Working together, we will continue to accomplish great things. So Happy New Year. Let's make 2012 the best yet. And thank you very much for joining us here today. And please stay around for the refreshments and the investment advice and the collegial atmosphere. And thank you, Wilbur, for hosting us here today. Thank you.